That's it, everyone. I have been labelled a race baiter. Why? Because yesterday when I watched While Blue Yonder, I made a tweet about the fact that Sir Isaac Newton, a very prominent white historical figure who made the discovery of gravity, had been race swapped to a person of colour. Yes, apparently that makes me a race baiter. It also makes me not a true fan of Doctor Who, because apparently I hate it so much, even though I've watched it from the early 90s. Yeah, I basically should get on with my life and be the life of the party, I guess you could say. Now, I was one of the earliest people to actually pass a remark on the fact that Isaac Newton had actually been race swapped. And one of the reasons why I actually picked up on it quicker than perhaps most people would have is because I work in the acting world and I know exactly how casting works in the acting world. In today's world for acting, you have to have one person of colour, a minority, as a named role. That's generally how it works. But RTD, instead of going with the fact that they have Rose and Sean as two very prominent persons of colour in the show at the moment, instead of having one of those two characters at the end with Bernard Cribbins, they went with race swapping Sir Isaac Newton. Since my tweet, the internet has actually gradually picked up on the fact that Sir Isaac Newton was race swapped, and a lot of people are picking up on the fact that it's absolutely ludicrous. I could cry cultural appropriation, of course. Some people are saying that it's absolutely wrong that Sir Isaac Newton is portrayed by a person of colour. Some people are saying they don't see what the problem is. Of course they don't, because colourblind casting is so important, right? Okay. And then other people are explaining why both things are wrong. And what I mean by both things is that people are also comparing today's casting back to 50, 60 odd years ago, where a white person would have black-faced up or like change the appearance of their skin to make themselves look Asian. Now, I'm going to tell you something. There is a big difference between back 60 years ago versus today. And 60 odd years ago, they wouldn't have had a person of colour in order to play those roles. They wouldn't have had it. Why? Because not many people of colour were in this country or America or anywhere where white people were living. But in today's world, we do have that advantage, so there's absolutely no reason why someone should blackface up, why someone should make themselves look Asian. There's no reason for it. We don't have to do it. So my argument would be, why then, when it comes to white historical figures, do we need a person of colour, a minority, to do that role? Why do we need it? Particularly with historical figures. Now, I know we have a race swap coming up with Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor. I've overlooked that because whilst, like, historically through the story of the show, the Doctor has always been white, I've decided to overlook it, okay? That's my personal choice. I don't know how many people are happy with the casting of Ncuti Gatwa, but with historical figures, I can't choose to overlook it. Why? Because the correct visual representation is extremely important, not rewriting history for the sake of suiting ourselves. We have hundreds, thousands of white people to play Sir Isaac Newton, and yet we have a person of colour. So I thought, seeing as it's okay to race swap, I'm going to have a little experiment here and see how many of you think it's okay for these actors to play these roles in historical context. Let's start with Martin Luther King. For Martin Luther King, how about Robert Downey Jr.? Let's have Rosa Parks next. How about Liza Minnelli? I think she would look good sitting at the front of the bus refusing to move. For Mother Teresa, I have chosen Princess Anne because I think she would be phenomenal in that role. I also think Scarlett Johansson is the perfect choice for Pocahontas. I think an excellent choice for Bob Marley would be Rupert Grint. A very young Olivia Colman would make a very great Michelle Obama. Freddie Prinze Jr. would be a great Mahatma Gandhi. For the Chinese leader Mao Zedong, I actually think we should probably have Matthew Lillard, because I think he would be phenomenal in his shaggy voice. For Genghis Khan, it should 100% be Matt Lucas. Jokes aside, you see how ridiculous that actually is when in this day and age we are actually in a position to be visually accurate, and that's really what it should be. No skin colour swapping, no blacking up, no whitening up, nothing like that. And also, one thing that I will note is that a lot of people seem to have, and maybe this is some of the new Who people who haven't actually seen the early Doctor Who. You actually forget that this show, this particular show, started out as a history show as well as sci-fi, but predominantly history for children from like the ages of about 8 up, although I know younger watched it, and teenagers and adults. It was supposed to be educational. So what are you teaching them if you're race swapping? Well, certainly not history. Where the history is, even though some of it might be a dramatization, you should be historically as visually representative as you possibly can be, instead of just colourblind casting. It's an absolute whitewash, it's an absolute farce. I don't like colourblind casting, it shouldn't exist. We live in the modern world where we have lots of different cultures, lots of different skin colours in our countries. So don't undo one skin colour just for the sake of having a person of colour in the show. Cast it correctly, and maybe you will never come under any criticism for casting correctly. Let me know what you think. Chat about it, don't shout about it. Leave a comment below. If you don't like this video, that's absolutely fine. It's quite controversial, but I am actually someone who takes note of this very much so. And have fun, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.